Well, it is spring in the Midwest and it's a great time of the year. This is the time of the year that I really get out on a lot of properties and I literally walk hundreds if not thousands of acres of land just on the request of the owners because they want to know what the values are in anticipation of maybe listing it. A lot of times they just want to know their values, and it's a service that I provide. So on today's episode, I'm going to take you on a beautiful 80-acre property in Dunn County, Wisconsin that I was just recently asked to do an assessment. I'm going to walk you through this property. I'm going to talk to you about what I see, how I assess them, and maybe even throw out some numbers. So if you're interested in how a realtor comes up with a property value, you're going to enjoy this episode of The American Landman. Okay, well, welcome back again. I am out on a property, and Lucy and I are going to go take a look at this property. And again, this is a educational video about what I see on these properties as I get here and see it for the first time. I'm just going to walk it through this property, kind of talk about the features that I see of it, what I find that's helpful as far as value. I'm going to talk a little bit about price, but I haven't really researched it. I kind of know what I think I know, but then we always go back and look at the data and confirm what we think we know. So I'm going to take you through this property. This is not for sale. This is educational purposes only. I'm going to show you what I see as I see it. Come on. Okay, well, the first thing about this property that I like to do is I like to kind of like zoom back on my mapping just to see what I see and where it's located. And I am kind of in the Boyceville, Wheeler, maybe even Menominee market. I'm kind of within that reach, and I like to kind of take a look at how I would access this property, because access is really important when you're putting a value on a property. The location and commutability, how long does it take to get from here to a populated area, really adds to the overall price that I'll eventually put on it, just because it's more valuable if it's closer to amenities. Next, as I come in here, I'm kind of assessing the area. I'm looking at the different houses, seeing what they look like. Are they kind of trashy and run down? And is the property next to a trailer park, or just a bad looking neighbor, or is it a nice looking neighbor? And I'm going to tell you that off the bat, what I see here is it's looking pretty good. And then right out of the gate here, I pulled in and I see this big old flat field. Looks like they have hay growing here. They're probably cutting it for horses. But this little area right here would be a beautiful building spot, maybe tucked back up against the woods here. We got utilities and a paved entrance. So this right here makes it look good. So let's go along. We're going to walk this property. This is a little under 80 acres. I'm going to show you what I see. As I see it, we're going to make comments. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll get her done today. Okay, a lot of people are calling me right now, and they're looking for properties that they can split, or can be split, if you will, into smaller portions, and then sold off as buildable spots. This property is kind of like an 80 long, like 240 stacked on each other, moving east-west. So it's a rather narrow property. Could a guy come in here and peel off 5 acres out of here and then run the rest behind here and maybe sell them separately? Sure. 5-acre lot will get you more on the cost per acre metric, as I talk about a lot. Or you could just sell this as a whole 80 and build up front and hunt in the back. So anytime I look at these properties, I'm always looking for that type of thing. Can I split them to enhance the saleability for the seller, but also make it more available because it's basically a smaller piece to more people, and the price will be different because of that on a cost per acre metric. So this one, I suppose you could split this right down the middle, have a little bit of surveying done, or maybe peel off a corner or somewhere, a little bit more seclusion. It's just going to cost you some surveying costs. As you're walking these properties, I always like to look for things that I can enhance a property. You can see a guy, he's bow hunting here, and this little corner here could be a nice little food plot. Maybe put some screening material so animals can be screened back here. Nothing from the road can see your food plot. But this little spot right here can easily be a food plot, and it looks like the guy's been hunting up there, kind of had the same idea. I always like to see if ways to improve it. That's important. Okay, I walked from down there up into the timber, and you can see there's some decent timber in here. Probably could even use a little bit of thinning. Mostly red oak. I'm seeing some black oak, a couple white oak in here. And then I'm right on the edge of a biome change where they've planted red pine. I assume this is, yep. Yeah, red pine stand. So there's some standing timber in here. Does look like it's been managed. It hasn't been thinned. Every tree in here, you can see, they're all about this size. And you know, if you want to get some timber value out of here, you're gonna have to come in and thin this, because they're growing tight and they're growing close to each other, so they're not able to mature out. And as I do a lot, I get down on this level and look through here and see, you know, there's no deer habitat in here. So from a hunting perspective, this doesn't really add anything. Yeah, you could come in here and thin this, maybe burn this stuff off, get a little understory going here, turn it into something. But the owners thought that there was maybe some timber value in here, and I'm going to say there could be if you thin it out. That's what I see. One thing that I do like about these woods is these are great roosting spots for the turkeys. Turkeys like to get up in here. Oh, there goes one. I don't know if you heard that, but I just scared one out. They like to roost up in here, so good place to sneak in and maybe call one down off its roost. So right off the bat, this property is perfect for building. I think it could have a great little home near the road. It's already got pasture, fence them in, put your horses in there, but it's also good for hunting. So I'm on the back part of the property, and sure enough, I come across this. So there's a couple hunting improvements here. Don't know if it's locked, but I'm not going to go in. And it's looking down over this valley here. So it's got some hunting improvements. You know, I'm looking through here, I'm looking at the timber. I'm definitely seeing some marketable timber in here. I wouldn't say there's a ton of it, but it could be thinned. So there's probably a little bit of money to be made. And what's really nice about this is that anytime you look at a property, if you step back and you look at the surrounding area, there's a 40, 40, 40, and a 40. So there's 6 times 4, 240 acres, all timber around here. So a lot of room, a lot of seclusion. It's quiet back here. Not hearing anything from the road. But this looks good, and this is what people like. You know, something I don't probably talk about often enough is access to a property. But if you're an astute hunter, it's one of the first things that you should evaluate on a property is like, how do you get into it? So anytime you have multiple points of access, it's always a plus, and this property has it. There's actually a power line easement off the property, it appears, but on the western edge of the property, going right up the edge. And then I came off on the east side with a paved road, and I walked in. So if you've got a northwest wind, you'd probably come in the way that I came. But if you've got a southeast wind, you might swing around the backside property and work your way through the timber. So anytime you have multiple points of access for multiple winds, it's always a plus. And you've got it here. So here's a feature that I always like to see. That's these ridgetop access trails. Real easy through here. You can see pretty wide, nice and clean, not eroded. This is done well. I see they're in here maybe doing a little timber cutting. I think this ridge is going to take me to another box blind, but you know, this type of work, if you don't do it yourself, you're gonna have to hire somebody, and this is thousands of dollars to do this. If you hire a forestry mulcher, he could probably work his way through here and work up the, you know, grind it up and get the little stuff. But here they've done it, and I don't know if they did a bulldozer. I see some cuts like this where the guy came in with a chainsaw and cut that off himself. But either way, really good trail. I mean, it's just going right through here, and it's on the peaks of these ridges, and it makes for great access when I show it too. I'm gonna be able to bring my gator down through here, and believe it or not, it adds up to a better sale price. You know, if you guys watch my videos, you know I'm kind of into management. And this is a great fire break. I'd love to see them come through here and burn this woods, because it could really benefit by getting some of the duff. And these fire breaks here, these trails are great fire breaks. There's not much combustible fuel on here. Maybe a backpack sprayer blower clean them up a little bit, but It's just an underutilized tool. If you can find somebody to help you, I'm not the guy. Maybe call your local fire department and see if they'll come out here and do it. It's tough though to get anybody to help you, especially this time of the year, just because they don't want the risk of burning the woods down. But imagine if you came through here with some fire and burned off all the duff, how that would green up, because it's pretty open as it is and there's not a lot of browse on the ground. So I do think some fire in here would really help. It would definitely help the huntability of this property. Okay, I no sooner talked about fire and I could smell smoke. And check this out. That's exactly what they did here. They came through here and they lit a fire. I don't know if it was a head fire or what, but this is, you know, it's a couple weeks old, it looks like, but they definitely have burned in here. And you can see how they've taken up all of the fuel on the ground. Probably a very, I'm gonna say a fairly fast burning fire went through here, because there's still quite a bit of leaf litter down here. And you can see how this stuff was barely burned. It either was wet or it went through here extremely fast. But this is definitely going to help it'll help it green up. And the habitat's going to explode in here. I would probably come in here now and I'd punch some holes in the ceiling and the sky and try to get some sunlight on the ground here. But I tell you what, this is going to explode with woody browse in here. I love to see this. It's funny I saw that. Honestly, did not set that up, guys. I was just walking and all of a sudden I smelled burning wood, and this is what I found. Pretty cool. Now you might ask yourself, doesn't that fire kill your trees? But look at this. These are barely scarred. It's just barely scarred. I mean, I'd rub in there and it's not killed that tree at all. This is going to come back, and tree after tree. Now some of these smaller ones, like this maple, possibly, but you know, it didn't get it on that side at all, and that's probably going to make it. But the trees are scarred, but they're used to this. This is a natural fire. This used to happen all the time back in it with Mother Nature until we stopped it. Smokey Bear squelched all our fires, but this is actually really good for the environment. Okay, here we are on the back side of the property to that power line I mentioned. This is the back border, and it goes for quite a ways. And I don't know if you can see that, but way down there, there's some orange snow fencing, and there's actually a corn food plot. So whoever's been managing this has been utilized that space. But this is the southern border of the property, given away to the tall timber. Hey, I want to show you this. This is a good example of what can happen. This is why you got to be skilled when you're cooking with fire out in the timber. See how that is up there? That's charred. That's about 10 to 20 feet above the ground, where the fire leapt across the fire line here. Even though they cleaned it out, somehow an ember got up in that tree. Now, I don't know if they put it out with water, but they got it out. But if that kept burning and maybe tipped over after you were gone, that fire would head back down the other way. So when you're doing this fire, you got to know what you're doing. Just don't come out here and light a match, you know, make your break and light a match. You got to be able to put it out if it gets away from you, or you could be really liable. I personally have tried to call my county, a fire department, see if they would come and do this with me at my property, because I just love to see this. Honestly, in all the time I've been selling land, this is the first time I've ever come across a property that I know of that has been managed with fire. It's all the way down to the hill. There's another road access down there, and they burned up this hill. My guess they did a backing fire where they went downhill, and it was very slow and it crawled downhill, because there's still a lot of leaf litter that they didn't get, and or it was wet and it just didn't happen very fast. So pretty cool. I just thought I'd show it to you. I love seeing this. This is fantastic. I'm going to take a minute to talk about the type of timber cutting you can do. And what you see commonly with programs like the Managed Forest Law is they want to do a cut that's extremely heavy, and they want to do a cut that's called a shelter wood cut. And I wouldn't recommend that if you want to sell your property anytime soon. Sure, a heavy cut will have a lot of browse and a lot of regeneration, and maybe some small clear cuts within your timber, not bad. But if you get a homogeneous 40-acre cut with a shelter wood cut, that's not what you want to do, especially if you want that aesthetic appeal that we all like about a property and you want to resell it. The second cut would be maybe a select cut, where they might come in and they might select certain trees, maybe certain species of tree like ash, because they'll get the emerald ash borer and they'll take those out, and those are going to be diseased and they want to get rid of that, maybe that species, or you want to maybe manage it for a species like oak or maple or whatever it is that you want to manage for. The third type of cut would be more of a timber stand improvement. And that's when you come in and you take trees that have seams or are crooked or are diseased, and those are the trees you want to take out. And you might selectively cut some little pockets and make some browse pockets, some bedding areas. But timber stand improvement is a good cut, and that would be beneficial here, and that's what I would recommend at this property. And frankly, I would recommend that to most property owners. Timber stand improvement is going to increase the value of your property. It's going to make it much more saleable. It's going to make it more aesthetically appealing, and personally, from the eyes of most people, that's what you're going to want. I know that's what you're after. So think about timber stand improvement if you're thinking about cutting. Okay, well, let's wrap up this video. So, located in kind of near the town of Wheeler, so within the striking distance of Menominee. Just a great looking property with a lot going on. Good trail system, nice biome changes with the red pine here giving away to hardwood forest. So actually some pretty good timber that I think if you wanted to TSI it, you could probably take a few bucks out of here and pay back some of your down payment. They've been firing it with, or burning it with fire and managing it with fire. There's some box blinds, there's some trail systems. Overall, just a really good property. And then to kick it all off, and probably the cherry on top of the sundae, is that building site. I mean, you could split off a little bit, maybe sell a small portion to another seller or a buyer to recoup some of your costs, or just keep it to yourself, and it's got a beautiful building site with room for a home and a little hobby farm. So a lot going on here, a lot of good things. But the market is so crazy that, you know, I'm probably, if I listed this, I'd probably put more on it. People are spending more than the averages are saying right now. The actual sales aren't keeping up with the data, and that's important in a seller's market. So if I get this listed, you will know. This is just for educational purposes. I hope you enjoyed the tour. I get to see this every day, and this is a beautiful property. I haven't seen one like this in a while, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, I'm Neil Hogger, and I'm a land specialist with Whitetail Properties Real Estate. If you follow me, thank you. If not, hit that like button down there. Give me a call if you're looking for property, and I'll go out and I'll see if I can find it. Thanks for watching.